We need the levels you need to triage the market. HFR from the floor. Currently, not on the floor. They're all dead, sir. Delmore Berry included. Mistrade Matt Davio. HFR Robert D. Heffernan. And Matt, the world is my oyster. I got to tell you, there was a time in my life where you said you're going to love oysters. I would have said, shut the F-bomb up. Those things are so just like who just snotted into a shell and you're going to tell me I'm going to eat that? Like when I was a kid, you showed me an oyster, no chance.
I still can't do it because I think about how if I really did one of these, it would come out my nose. I've made that happen, so I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, we only say this because the world apparently is ready, and we're going to bring up some price discovery and tell you why we're ready for this. From Reuters, thank you, Reuters. Scientists are experimenting with larva fat to replace butter. By the way,
Reuters is full on with the WEF. They've signed on
for sure. WEF, we all the way. They soak insects in water and then mush them with a blender before centrifuges separate a butter-like substance, which the team then uses to bake with. I believe they had this same idea. Well, it was a different angle when they gave us Crisco, right, Matt? Back then, tallow was very expensive, and they were looking for something else to burn in lamp oil in particular, and they came up with Crisco. And then all of a sudden, our friend John D. Rockefeller had this thing called petroleum. No longer did they need Crisco for lamp oil. So guess what? Let's just feed it to people.
Yeah, let's use it to make our eggs on Sundays. But you know what? I got to say, I always wondered how my paternal grandmother made eggs with, like, she made the best fried eggs, and it was because she used Crisco.
Yes, I mean, you cannot say that it doesn't taste great, along with browns perfectly, and then kills you slowly.
No, but she actually used real butter. I'm teasing, but because she couldn't afford Crisco, it was probably more expensive, anyways, wasn't it? I mean,
no. I think just like now, man. Why don't we do this right away?
All right.
Let's bring up the butter chart because nobody's mashing. I mean, other than the bullshit climate narrative on livestock, but look at butter.
Yeah, butter. And by the way, this is a 12-year chart actually that you're looking at. So these are all-time highs in the last 14 years because it does go back. I looked. My chart only goes back to 2008, I think. So I don't know why, but this is a continuous chart. But obviously that's when butter's been trading forever, right? But whatever. This particular iteration only goes back to 2008, but we're at all-time highs. And I think it's interesting that, Scott Felly didn't, or whatever his name is, Pelly, whatever his name, why he didn't bring this up with Joe. Like, Joe, butter is 3x since you took over.
Right.
Is that inflation or not? Like he could have stuck with basic goods, your housing, your energy, your education, your healthcare costs. All you had to do is bring up the inflation numbers on those 5 things along with some foodstuffs, and that interview would have gone it already went sideways. So whatever.
I mean, so margarine, it's cheaper, it kills you, right? Crisco, it's cheaper, it kills you.
Yeah.
Butter, the real thing. And actually, we talked about this on the way in. I think that from a health standpoint, your body could probably accept bug butter way better than any of those other things. So as begrudgingly as I want to say that, and we talked about this too. How many bugs do you need? Like how big of our bug farms going to be?
Can somebody give me the cost analysis of how one cow can feed? I don't know.
Right.
Literally, like I don't know the numbers, so I'm just going to.
And maybe we're wrong, by the way. Maybe
we're wrong, but show me one cow versus 10 bazillion cockroach larvae. And how much time and where they're stored and who wants that?
Yeah, they just said centrifuges, so you need electricity to run a centrifuge. Unless they're pedaling. Are they pedaling the centrifuge? All right, Matt. Speaking of disgusting, beyond gross. I was shocked that you didn't see this.
I did not.
Barstool sharing, Beyond Meat's COO allegedly got into a road rage fight, bit a man's nose after the Arkansas-Missouri State football game. Obviously an Arkansas fan with a ton of money on Arkansas. They don't cover. Now somebody cuts him off. He hasn't had a nice steak in like whatever.
His life.
2 years. He's imbalanced. The Beyond Meat has been poisoning him, and now he bites somebody's face off. By the way, I also saw Beyond Meat executives have been selling the entire time that this thing has been public. They just keep selling their stock every chance they get. Every reporting period has they've been a net seller.
Well, again, this came public in a good time, 2019, pre-COVID, when apparently people were really interested in fake beef.
And their health, right?
Yeah. And they got really interested again in January 21 when Joe Biden got in there. And since then, it's been nothing but insider selling and nobody's buying. The volume's dying. This thing's going to zero. It's a zero.
I mean, it is going to be an auction item, right? All their warehouse space.
Well, I think the bug people could buy it from them and maybe use some of the things in their attempt to disrupt natural food from animals that we've been eating for, I don't know, 3,300 years. Matter of fact, did you see that story out of Israel last night that they found a new settlement, archaeological settlement in some Israeli beach that apparently dates back to the Egyptians 3,300 years ago. So we could probably look at their food residue and do some carbon dating and see what they were eating 33 years ago. I bet it was butter from a cow and
33, yeah.
and or a goat. Right. But there was milk from multiple animals, I'm sure, being consumed, and meat and bones. So why do we it's worked? Here's where I go back to Talib. If it's worked for 3,300 years, why change? People don't die from eating butter. They don't die from drinking milk just because you're all a bunch of peas and you have
and by the way,
you have stomach issues because you're poor.
Wait a second. How fast does it break down too when right. It's they're worried about the animal. Nobody's worried about the larva.
Right.
Where's the American larva?
I mean, especially with all the bug life movies, are we gonna have bugs rights? I mean, where's the woke? Where's the woke on this one, Bob?
Man, let's stay on the subject of Beyond, and let me share. Okay, I'm gonna disregard him, and there we go. Slope of Hope sharing. Wells Tremont wasn't lying. Just look at the complete demolition of just about every investment he's offered. Tremont says, "I'm about to really fuck some shit up." Just. FYI, first of all, it should have been just a FYI. All right. You had the characters, just a FYI. Nobody says just for you. Anyway, Matt, Chamat, and let me jump over to here because we talked about this yesterday or last week, these SPACs, and now he's shuttering 2 SPACs. Congratulations on the hype. And I don't know, can you pull these up? iPod and IPOF?
Yeah, I can bring up one, I'll bring up one. Looks, again, he probably owns most of the stock, so probably worked out for him. He probably shorted it when it went up here to 17 and I was covering it because it's just been trading at 10. So, I mean, this thing's been dead for 2 years.
So if you were loved his ideas on the future of technology, and you bought at 17, you're going to get your $10 back when he closes it.
Less the 7 extra that you paid for it. Exactly.
All right. So it's only a halvening. That's okay.
And the same thing with, well, the IPOF went again from 18 to 10 also. So same thing. Everybody that bought it coming out is sitting on a pile of shit and he'll buy it back from you. What a great guy. And by the way, Golden State tickets are on sale right now. So pick those up.
The Warriors come out and play.
I think he owns them.
Good for him. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt. Moving right on down to Beyond. This is beyond salvageable as a business model if we have a several year rally in rates. Now, maybe we just got to, we'll just get over it quickly here. All right. By the end of the year, they'll raise as much as they need to curb inflation, and then we can start,
No, but here's what's interesting when I look at this chart, Bob. Here's what I found interesting. The purchase amounts that we saw in 03 and 06, right? Look at those compared to the dark blue where we are now. So we're just at those levels, which were so frothy in 03 and in 06, right? That's when housing was insane. And now the interesting thing to me though is the refi levels that we saw, and I didn't realize this. So yeah, people have all this equity built into their house, but I think the reason why people have been spending so, and again, I think why they've been so frothy is just, people are, and as they've used this equity to finance second, third, fourth homes, right? But at some point, there's not going to be equity in one of those four properties. If you're from LA and you bought one in Bend and you bought one in Portland and you bought one in Austin, let's just say you took all that money and those things get cut in half. One of them, like you're going, well, I'm underwater in all of these. Like at some point you have to go, well, I got to get rid of one of these, right? Because I'm just getting waxed in all four. So I don't know. I just start looking at that, refinance and then all the shit and trips. Well, and again, I don't know how many trips people were going on in 2020. So it had to be all buying shit for your house from Home Depot and Lowe's and all this.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
So you basically wiped out a generation. First of all, you have no new buyers coming into the market. The younger generation can't afford to buy it. So they're not even buying. And then the older generation did enough upgrades for the next 20 years. So they're not going to be going back to Home Depot until their grandkids are born, and their grandkids.
You know what? Why don't we bring up Home Depot? We haven't talked about it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I kind of thought the same thing too when I look at this refinancing thing. And the other thing that's interesting about this, the situation is you have a house, you put, you buy it for 5, you put 100 into it, 6. It appraises at 7, and then all of a sudden it appraises at 450. Well, not only are you out the money that you paid for the house, you're out all of the upgrade money that you put into it. I know this from personal experience that is a real kick in the nuts.
Yeah, it does happen.
When you're out the upgrade money also
yeah.
on the valuation of the house.
Yeah, so Home Depot, we talked about at the end of last year, sell the turd out of it at 420, right? It got too high at 420. Like that too high.
Super high.
And now is already off 35-40% down here at 268. We saw new lows and tested them again here. Again, if you want to buy this up to here, I'll sell it to you. All the Benzinga boys who say this isn't going to go down to 220 and then 140, keep buying it, because I don't see how this rectifies itself. You got inflation, you got equity reducing already, and that's such a slow moving thing. But if you can't see that it's coming, and the houses, they don't just pause at the top, right? No asset just goes up forever at 420 and just stops. It gets rocked. So I mean, it's going down, whether it's 10%, 20%, 40, 50, 80, I can't tell you, but it's going to go down. And the whole housing thing is really falling apart. So, and it's slow moving because there's so many people that are still flipping houses and thinking, oh, this is a value now. I can come in here. I got some extra cash and I'm going to, but again, here's how I see it. I'm walking around town. I walk this town all the time. I see houses under construction. I can tell you just in my normal path, there's probably a half a dozen that have stopped in some state of construction. There's no buyer. They were specs clearly, and they're $3 million specs, and they're just sitting there with
nobody working on
with walls that have, that haven't been painted. There's no colors, there's no finishes, there's no lighting. They're just, so the bank probably said, you're done because you have 8 of these going on somewhere else. Right. So the bank's like, until you find a buyer, we're not going to give you the rest of the money to do this house. Because if you find a buyer, then they can pick the finishes and you can go from there. That's where we are in this environment. So the bankers have stopped lending to these guys that were probably over levered, even though they thought they were under levered. Well, as long as things kept going up, they were under levered. And this is how it works. As long as they go up, everything's great. But when they just tick down just a little bit, it doesn't take much. And people forget this. We were talking about it last night. We happen to know of a pretty big custom builder out of the Portland area, and you know, things are rough. And it's only going to get rough. I mean, every day that these interest rates go up, and again, you know,
we talked about it yesterday, Matt, with Ford, and then there was the information later in the day how their supply lines are rocked. Not only that, their cost of materials are through the roof.
Yeah.
And
we talked about this. Like, I don't care what car company and what EV company you believe in, whether it's Tesla, Ford, GM, Nikola, right? We talked about this last week again. We said sell them. And this is where we were talking about it right here when it was $15. If you listen to us, again, we just saved you another 20% because it's down from 15 to 13 in 3 days. I don't know how much else we can do for people here. We give you the themes, the broad things every day.
Call up, God damn it. Do you want to hear radio again? I mean, 1984 is not that far away.
No.
Some of you will get that joke. Matt, listen, we have to do this. All right.
Okay.
We have to do this right here.
What?
Hold on. We have to do this. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right on. Into the Manja kitchen we go. Yesterday, Matt, total fin fest for Chicago style Italian beef. Let me just give you the play-by-play. Peppers and onion sauteed, right? Till they're crispy, and then you gotta let them sweat. And then you got it, the crusty bread's the incredibly important thing here. We keep talking to people about Bend, Oregon, and the people talk about the beer, right? But the bread in this town is better than any place I've ever had in my life. The crusty Sirata baguette. We got mozzarella, and then that went into the oven first, Matt, and got warm. And then we added the beef and the peppers, and then more mozzarella on the top, and then back into the broiler. Now the key, and you had just shared the TikTok videos, right, of the guy wrapping all of his sandwiches. And where was that deli? In the East Coast someplace?
Yeah, it was New York. It was just this Algerian guy who has become a sensation, posting these crazy sandwiches, out of his little bagada, right? And he's making and the crazy concoctions. But the secret was, and I'll let you,
yeah, I mean, you got it.
Because we learned from it. Like you and I have had these sandwiches before. We're like, oh my God, like, why didn't we realize this? It's all parchment paper at the end of the day.
Yeah, you got to wrap it. You got to wrap it so that heat and humidity sweats into that thing. All those flavors meld, and then bong, dude. I mean, are you kidding me? The au jus, let me. You know what? Pull up Portillo's and tell me. We need to look at a beef, some sort of beef company. We're on a food budget today, obviously, in the Manja kitchen, talking bug butter. But is Portillo's publicly traded? I thought it went public. Speaking of great Italian beefs, see, I threw a curveball, and I should have had the info.
No, I'm looking at them. I don't think they're publicly traded, but I've never heard of them. I've never even been.
Come on, you've never had a Portillo's either.
I've never. No, I haven't. So it must be. Here it is. And again, I think ours look better than theirs. Ours looks better than that piece of shit there. So
you might be speeding right now if you're from Chicagoland, and you heard him just say that. You might be speeding. All right, I'm going to leave the Manja kitchen, Matt, and come back here. What else do we got, Matt? What else do we got? How about last night? And again, nothing more clear that Josh Fields is not
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is not. Who's the Buffalo quarterback?
Yeah, the season's over for the Bears after that game. We already know.
Slow down.
Hopefully today is the last time we have to talk about it.
How about some of those?
Because Jimmy G, they should have signed Jimmy G the week before after they won, and after San Francisco lost, they should have came in and signed Jimmy Garofalo from San Francisco. Now Trey Lance broke his ankle and he's done, so Jimmy's back. Jimmy's back, and the screaming girls are happy because Jimmy's the most attractive quarterback in America. He's the new.
I'd like
he
to-
is
I'd
the
like
new
to-
Tony. He is the new Tony Romo. So
I would like to make him an Italian beef. You
That's what I'm saying.
Garoppolo,
I mean,
you probably
I
have
mean,
an opinion.
let's face it. Manja was ready to sponsor Jimmy G if he came to Chicago with Italian beefs, but now you've blown it because we're not. I mean, either way, both places are so woke, San Francisco or Chicago. So like, I'm against both of them anymore. Like, I'm against them.
Hey man, Detroit's going to be great again. I got to tell you, I'm leaving on a Thursday morning to go back for a wedding,
Right.
and the vibe in Detroit is something that I was not prepared for, man. It is.
Yeah, the thing about Detroit, man, is the people that stay, you know, they stay, and even the ones that leave, like me and everybody else that's left, are still Detroiters. And you know, it's interesting because I think the spirit there is such that, like, I don't think there is another city like Detroit in that regard, where you had that just a merger of blue collar and white collar during the 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s that really set it apart from the Chicagos, which were just white. You know, all the other big cities are really white collar towns. You know, they weren't blue collar. I mean, Chicago a little bit, but you know, I think Detroit was really unique in the old cities like that. And I think Pittsburgh probably was a lot like that too. And
for sure,
you know, and Cleveland, but Cleveland just never, they really still never, you know, and they lost again to the Jets. So, I mean, good job, Lee. Good job with the Jets. By the way, your Eagles looked phenomenal last night. And I will give the shout out, even though I suck at the NFL, I'm now 4-0 for the year. So you should stop. You should stop with any of my picks for the rest of the year. 100%.
Wait a second. We're going to still stick with the NFL team plus 10.
Yeah.
You got to stick with that.
I think it was 2-2 this weekend. It didn't hurt you.
Matt, I found the price discovery. No,
Yeah.
I thought Arby's was fucking publicly traded. No,
It's part of somebody's conglomeration, but
and we're going to end up going to go to the cattle chart.
I mean, Darden's might own Arby's, but I don't know. I don't keep track. I don't trade them. It's not a big interest to me. But I believe
I was just trying to stay on the beef theme. All right,
Yeah.
Matt. So
Yeah.
with that, butter all-time
Anyways,
highs.
we encourage our viewers to make your own Chicago beef and send us your Chicago beef sandwiches and listen, I'll try them all. So if you want to send us samples, we're also open to it, right?
All right, let's look at LEZ 2022. Let's look at the Deese cattle.
Hey, Maury Wills died. I don't know if you're a Maury Wills fan, but he was a great player for the Dodgers. Shortstop, 13-year career, 7 All-Star appearances, 3 World Series titles, and he won the MVP in 61. 89 years old. Rest in peace, Maury Wills. He was, by the way, he was probably the last great base stealer before Lou Brock, if you recall that. Lou Brock.
I don't recall that. I was a twinkle of my father's
Well, I
eye.
mean, I was not born during Maury Wills' career either, but I do know the history of the game, and I studied Maury Wills, and he was quite a player. So, tip of the hat, rest in peace to his family, and he was a great player. And the Dodgers fan will miss him.
Hey, Matt, bring it up. LEZ 2022. LEZ 2022, because very important area. I knew we'd get back to beef. Matt, I knew we'd get back to beef. Go a little bit, go longer term on this.
I just went front month. Choo choo.
Yeah, it has been very bullish, and
10% since July. 10% beef through the roof.
April of 22, they're retesting that high, which is all-time high, I believe.
We're at well, the all-time. I don't know. You're saying this level in 15, we're nowhere near. So
170s it made it to
172-ish. So, but why wouldn't we? Why were we there in 15? Do you remember?
Mad cow. I don't know.
Yeah, was that when maybe Obama was starting to talk about Bug Life and shit like that then too. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I mean, look at that too. I agree with you now. When I look at that longer term profile, I mean, it was a big, meaty, efficiently developed profile over time. and it cannot seem to hold back in that area.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it wants to extend. All you people saying that the Beyond Meat, who had that? Who had that on their bingo card in the woke world? Beyond Meat goes bankrupt and cattle revisits 172 handle.
I would say the market's telling you exactly what the people want again. So that's what I would tell you.
Right on. All right. Anything else, Matt?
No, again, I think the Bills look for real. Everybody already likes the Bills, but they definitely 2-0. The Bills Mafia. I did not.
Josh Allen, dude, his arm is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
You know who he kind of reminds me of with his body shape and everything is Carson Wentz. And now he's still around, and I forget Carson Wentz and who else. He was number 2 and somebody else was number 1 the same year, and I think it was.
I mean, the sidearm on a rope, 30 yards, 40 yards is just
pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, right? I can't even hold an NFL football, so I find anybody in the NFL quarterback world amazing to me.
Right on.
A baseball is all I can hold anymore. I can still hold an MLB baseball, but I cannot hold an NFL football. There you go.
All right, Matt. Hey, thank you to a Slope of Hope. Thank you to Reuters and Chamat and everybody else. We said it on the way in. It's a target-rich environment, this world that we live in right now. As the hypocrisy, the irony, is just so overflowing. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The gifts that we get on a content basis every day. And please join us at marketvitals.io to talk more about it. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Lee. We'll see you tomorrow on another marketvitals.io stream. Thank you.